Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Guye and this is Maggie. Today we're here with a video that's a little bit different. We're going to be talking about a topic that's trending right now that has to do with a 49er football player by the name of Colin Kaepernick. I hope I'm saying the name right. If I'm not, we apologize. And kind of his stance for not standing up for the pledge for the national anthem. And so I kind of heard a little bit about it from Maggie, so I'm going to let her kind of tell you guys the story, and then we're going to go into what we think about it, the opinions, or just kind of how we feel, and just kind of educate you guys a little bit about that.
Correct.
And also address some trolls out there.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Kind of one of the things it spoke up to me yesterday, and just to let you guys know on YouTube, we are also live on Facebook right now, so if I look side to side, that is why.
Right.
But it kind of struck my heart it really struck my heart, not kind of, when I heard that this 49er fan...
well, actually, explain the story first.
Yes.
So then you can go into...
So Colin Kaepernick plays for the 49ers. And on, I think it was Saturday night or Friday night, he decided not to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's national anthem. It's national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, the national anthem, I should say. Yeah, not a Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sorry. The national anthem. He decided not to stand up for the national anthem. Mm-hmm. And that caused a lot of controversy. Now, prior to that, he never told anyone he wasn't going to do that or anything like that because he didn't want a team of people or people to think this was a cult or something coming up from that. So he just did this solely by himself. And he got a lot of backlash for that. And it came through, a lot of it started going viral on Monday. And specifically, when he didn't stand up for the flag, he did explain why. And a lot of it has to do with the meaning of what this country has become or why we stand. Because when we stand up for a flag, it means something. It is pride. We hold pride to our flag. But he felt that we've lost some of that and he wasn't going to stand. With that, he got a lot of backlash. And one specifically came from a fan named Nate. And this fan, he's a 49ers fan. And he went viral with what he did. He burned the jersey, Kaepernick's jersey. And when he did, he was talking about what that meant to him when he didn't see him stand. And he also went on the news channel and he was talking about how, as Kaepernick being someone who's a football player, he is some role model for a lot of kids, and kids look up to him and hold pride. And to see someone who has such substantial meaning not stand up for the flag really caused him to believe that this person doesn't need to be in our country. He was saying things like, go back to your own country, or that's just major disrespect and they can't stand for it. And with that, it made me start thinking a little bit, because I do stand for my flag, and I'm born in the United States. Even though both my parents are from Uganda, I was born here in the States. So it's kind of crazy when I hear people say, go back to your country. It's like, well, I was born here. I'm a citizen. And when he said that, it just made me think, wow, I do stand for my flag, and I do appreciate my flag, but I don't believe in everything it stands for anymore. Because of all the things that is going on in the media and how people react and what is going on in our world today, I cannot say that America stands for all the things it used to when the flag first came about. I cannot say I believe in all of that. And even though it's a role model for kids, I feel like a total hypocrite if I stood up and say, yes, we stand up for freedom, or we have freedom of speech and all of these things. But when we see black people getting shot every day, cops getting shot every day, kids can't go to school because gun violence is such a huge thing. Do we really have freedom here? Or we have to be careful for what we say, because who knows, that might later come back and hurt you in the future. You're targeted for certain things. So is that really freedom? Do I really believe that we stand for this flag and I hold pride and justice for it?
Right. Okay, so I guess my, where we're going with this is kind of like, why is it such a huge deal that he didn't stand for the national anthem when there are so many other things that are going on that we don't acknowledge? I was listening to a video by D.L. Huey, and he is one of the most amazing advocates out there and activists. And his response was, because I know people are furious and saying that he is ungrateful and that he should be he should return his money because it's coming from the white land or the country.
And things like, oh, you never knew. Like,
so basically saying, you know, he's ungrateful and spoiled because you're an athlete. And he said what really, like, it got me, and I had to get this quote by D.L. Huey. If you look him up, he's amazing. He said, Kaepernick is being silent to protest the mistreatment of colored people in America, while America is silent while people of color are being mistreated in America. There's nothing more American than silence. And I agree with that, because when there's Black Lives Matters things happening, some of the people that I know personally have said nothing about it, and saying nothing about it is just being just as bad just, you know, condoning it.
And that's something we teach our kids. We always tell our kids, you know, if you know something bad is going on, if you don't speak up about it, you're just as guilty.
Right.
Well, what are we doing when we don't do that? And especially when she says that quote, it reminds me of, I mean, it didn't just happen too long ago, the Olympics, and you had Gabby Douglas get backlash for not putting her hand over her heart. Not like she meant to not do that, but she got backlash for it and had to apologize to Twitter for it.
Right.
But yet you have two other athletes who competed. You got Ryan Kuzner and Joe, who did shot put, didn't put their hand over their heart. And those are
Caucasian
athletes.
Okay.
And it kind of sounded like this when they didn't put their hand over their heart.
Silence.
No one said a thing. Now, is that right? Do we say that's okay? That we can go, oh, yeah, we're not going to say anything. And I'm not saying that them not putting their hand over their heart, like, that's bad. No. But the fact that we're going to make a young Black girl apologize for not doing that, and then we have two older white male who should know this, apparently, because this is quote unquote, every American knows you must put your hand over your heart, otherwise you do not love your country. We don't make anyone apologize for that. Why is that? Nobody comes up on Twitter or nothing goes viral showing, oh, this guy didn't put his hand over his heart. No. So what does that mean? What are we standing for?
I think the fact that America could be so loud about somebody not putting their hands up for the flag, but yet be so silent when Black males put their hands up and say don't shoot and still get shot, but yet nothing's said, that's where it gets me furious, because you're mad because of one person who did not put their hands up for the national anthem once, and for something that he stands for. But every time a Black male still has his hands up with no gun, no threats, and is still being shot, yet it's silenced and it's buried after a few days. It's here in the media, gone tomorrow. That's where it has me upset, because America, where is our priority?
Yeah.
Are we worried about bringing back and saying, hey, you know, this is what our country stands for, you must raise your hand? Because if you look at it, and you guys are saying the national anthem is part of our history, correct. In this country, it is. But guess what? And you guys are so, not everyone, but some people fought for the Confederate flag to continue flying, but yet we bury slavery as soon as it comes up. As soon as slavery comes up, everyone is quickly to say, hey, let's forget that. That's in the past. It's in the past. Let's bury it. It's not there anymore. History. But that's history. But yet you guys are still fighting for the Confederate flag. There's a problem there. If you want to acknowledge the Confederate flag, you should acknowledge slavery just as much, and stop trying to hide it, and stop trying to make it seem as if we are being ungrateful. And if we want to do something about it, we should go back to Africa or go to a country that will be well.
And that saying of go back to your country, really? Because really, are you from here? You should, before you tell somebody that, you should maybe think about going back into your country. Oh, I forgot. They might not accept you because you haven't ever been there. But that's actually where you're from. So before you speak on that, you should think you're not even from here either.
And I also think it's so frustrating that you guys say go back to our country, but America was built on slavery. If you didn't have those slaves to build those things that you have today, then what would America really be? And you have to understand that, like, that history is very important to America today, but we are not taught that in school. We are taught that slavery was only maybe like 10 years. If you really read the history books, it's this much about slavery and so much about what the other Americans did. And that's so frustrating to me, because if you want to talk about the great things that were done in this country, talk about the bad things too, because we need to know. We have to be educated on all things, well-rounded. You can't pick and choose what you want to teach us and what you want to brainwash us with. Honestly, that frustrates me the most.
It's what we grow up on, and we don't realize we are brainwashed to be this way. Everything we do, we're brainwashed to be this way. And it's funny because we say, you know, I mean, Kaepernick got this backlash as this is a free country. If you went anywhere else, people are begging to come in here. Well, first of all, if this is a free country, why is our freedom given as a barter? Why do you have to exchange it? Because when you have to exchange freedom, that isn't really freedom.
No.
I don't know if anyone has read the definition of freedom. And this came from Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And it says the definition of freedom is the power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants, without hindrance or restraint. So that means for anyone or anything you do that you feel that you have the right to and you're not hindering anyone else's right, nobody else should come back at you and tell you you can't do that. If you're not doing anything wrong that hinders somebody else or makes someone else's life harder or they have to be in fear, then you should have every right to do it. Now, I'm not saying that no one has the right to backlash at him for not doing this, no. But if all this backlash causes him to have to either get out of the NFL or decides to make him stand, well, guess what? You just hindered his right because of something he stood for and believed in and explained to you why he's doing it. Right. But yet you somehow, the media, you still play in role of doing this. And that's what
because for
people
all
think they're innocent. You're not innocent. You've helped get him off of the team or make him go against of what he stood for. That's not freedom. That's not democracy.
And for the freedom for you guys to backlashing him for not putting his hands up, the same backlash should have happened to the police officers when these young men are being shot. But yet we protect. They're going on paid vacations and paid leave. But what happens to the kids or like the parents of the kid who just died? They have to grieve. They have to live without their son. They have to live with all these things. But yet you guys want to have such a huge voice on one person not wanting to stand up for the national anthem. Mm-hmm. It should be his right not to. It's not the Constitution saying that every American must raise their hand.
No, it doesn't say that anywhere.
Exactly.
That a flag is a symbol of your country. It does not stand that. If you don't stand, that means you hate your country. It's a symbolic symbol that we hold dear to our heart and we respect, because I do, or I once did. But after hearing all of this, it makes me change my perspective that, because someone didn't do this and because our country doesn't stand for what it used to, because it doesn't. Don't lie to yourself and say it does. Yes, I do. I'm grateful for the things I do have here. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that it comes for another cost, it's another dictatorship that you don't realize.
I just think it's just a contradiction of how we're so vocal about things that really don't matter, but we're so silent about things that are affecting our world today.
Yes.
That's upsetting.
And why I want to say, I personally call it a dictatorship in disguise. Because here's the thing. If you have choices, but you're only given certain choices to choose from, what does that say? It's no different from someone saying yes or no for what your opinion is or what you want to do or what you think you should be able to do. But for someone else saying, okay, you have a pool of choices. These are the only choices you get to choose from.
You have no choice.
You have
it's
no
not
other
a choice.
It's not a choice. It's a brainwash that makes you think that you have a choice. But initially you didn't, because someone else gave you options to choose from, and you get to choose blue, red, or white. But you don't know that pink, brown, and green exist. Right. So,
I think another anchor, whatever this girl's name is, Tomi Lahren, South Dakota's very own, and I'm so ashamed to be have resided in the same state as this woman. And she stated how Kaepernick should be focused more on speaking about the absence of black fathers in their children's lives or education or something of that sort. And I really had to think, like, is she really saying this? Because what does an absence of a parent have to do with the progression of our country and standing up for what's right? What if Kaepernick didn't have his father in his life? Yeah, he decided to stand up for something symbolic. Does that make a difference? Whether you have your father or your mother in your life does not make a difference if you're standing up for what you believe is correct.
Mm-hmm. That and if you're taught your morals. Because, there's kids out there with two parents and, commit rape and what
shoot up schools, and they come from happy parent households.
You have two parents.
Have they made any progression in America as far as those things? No, I don't think.
And I'm sorry, but this Tomi Lahren girl, after seeing your video, you're so uneducated.
Very uneducated.
Because a lot of things you state, you speak on behalf of people when no one agreed with you. I didn't agree with you.
I would never agree.
You said that I think all of America was thinking this when you talked about something about President Obama and how he shouldn't be here and he should go back to a Muslim country. Those
and
were
talking
your words.
about you would let you know where we want to go, and you'd be happy to pay our one-way ticket.
No,
Sweetheart, if we pay for that one-way ticket, we're taking you with us.
Yeah.
I just hope you know that.
Or actually, why don't you pay for my one-way ticket? I'll come see you.
I'll come to your
personally,
show
and
personally.
I will give you some new educational
Right,
lessons about
I
this.
definitely would love
because
to have a
I
conversation
feel like you're
with
not
you.
even watching the news, because when you stated some of the things you said, I wanted to know what news you were watching, because I was like, where are you seeing this? Where are you watching this?
What corrupt, brainwashed America told you those things?
And I get it.
correct?
You took it personally because you have family members that do serve the country.
My
and
brother
I
serves the
appreciate
country.
that.
My brother is in the Air Force.
There we go.
Yet if he decided he didn't want to do something, how can I stop him? My brother is in the Air Force because he does believe in this country and he wants to do good for everyone. So I personally, with someone, family in the Air Force or in the military in general.
And Tommy, this no care, don't care attitude that you have really sucks. It stinks. It personally makes you a terrible person almost. It makes you come off as a terrible person, I should say. Because people who don't care, why are you here? Why are you speaking? You don't care.
Don't
you
speak
don't care,
unless
don't
you
speak.
are very knowledgeable.
Because these are things we care about. I personally care about. So I will speak on it. But since you don't care about all these other extra stuff that you're like, I don't care that he's done this, or he should go back to a Muslim country, or because he's a great father and is there in his daughter's lives. I'm sorry, honey.
Congratulations, sweetheart.
But get out of TV. It's not the job for you. I'm sorry. I mean, I watched you and it made me sick. I couldn't even finish it because I was like, dude, this, I don't know. You grew up in South Dakota, which I did. And if you think South Dakota is life, boy, are you missing a portion of it. A huge portion of it. Because let me tell you, I grew up in South Dakota and our views, as you can tell, are not the same.
Polar opposites.
It is totally opposite. I don't know where you got your education. It sounds like up your butt and around the corner university, because everything you said just sounded like BS. BS. And like I couldn't even support it. I couldn't even fathom what you said. I was like, wait, what?
I think the fact that actually some people were sharing it and agreeing and saying like, oh, this chick's a boss and right on, but yet you were so silent when other corrupt things were happening in your backyard,
Yes.
probably in your state.
You said something. You said
spoke
this. You
very
spoke and you said
loud.
this. You said that. You can't understand why someone won't stand up and speak for something, or that you are doing this. Okay, my question is, you pick and choose what you stood for, right? Well, if you're going to stand for something and say that, oh, people should stand for what they believe in, well, stand for all of it. Because where were you when all the other stuff were happening? Where were you when Black Lives Matter, huh? Where were you?
Exactly.
Where were you when all of that was happening? Because you weren't nowhere. Where were you when Gabby Douglas had to apologize for not putting her hand over her heart? Where were you when Ryan and Joe didn't have to say anything? I didn't hear anything from you. Were you on the news? Where were you?
And I have to say one thing. I have to say one thing about
quietness.
athletics and the athletes in the U.S. Majority of the athletes in the U.S. are African American or born in Africa, brought here. Let's make this very clear. Without those coaches of yours, as you say, by white people or Caucasians, money, they don't make that money if those black, quote unquote, black athletes do not run and win for them.
Correct.
They do not get paid. So therefore, for you to pinpoint black athletes because of simple things that they didn't do, yet they make you the most money, I'm confused. Because if anything, like you guys let most of these police officers slide, you should let them slide as well, since we want to play that game. Okay, we're going to let our people slide. Let the athletes slide just as well. You can't pick and choose and say, okay, automatically when someone gets shot, the officer didn't do it, but because she or he did not stand up or put their hand up, it's an automatic crime and they have to pay a fine or maybe even apologize. What are you apologizing for? Maybe, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, what? Really? Huh?
Be clear, without these black athletes, America, as far as the athletic department, is nothing.
And as much as all of that, a lot of times people are like, well, you know, do your history, do your research. I did one of those things because it really came out to me. I wanted to know what our flag stood for. And the deception of our history has been tampered with. We are blinded by what really happens in history. We are taught one thing and then you grow up later and you learn something else. That makes no sense. But basically, one of the things I picked up just reading about the flag, it says, and this was actually about America, looking up the meaning of America. Came back with this. America is a perfect example of how greed can destroy a nation. America once stood for freedom, equality, solidarity, and peace, and humanity. Today, America stands for free trade and principles of that America once fought against. So the fact that someone can write that when you look up what America means and you get stuff like that, does that tell you anything? That should tell you something. That someone else in this country feels that America doesn't stand for what they stand for. But yet you still want to stand up for that flag, even though you think America isn't about the same thing. I mean, I just had this conversation over the phone with my dad because I wanted to know his opinion. And the funny thing, he was telling me about people he knows, and he was like, I had this conversation with a group of people. And he said, and they were Caucasian. The funny point about it, he said, just a week ago, they were arguing how America needs a revolution. America needs something to happen. Overthrow the government. All of that. But as soon as this Kaepernick conversation came up now this week, they were all like, that was so disrespectful and blah, blah, blah. Wait, just last week, you were just all against America. Now, because someone of another race didn't stand up, you're going to stand on this side? Or because what seems like majority people agree with what the media is saying or is going forward and going against this, now you're going to say that you should be on the other side of the fence? Wait, what? Are you done or are you finished? Are you stupid or are you insane? You can't, no, it doesn't work like that. And
you can't just pick sides. I think if we really want to progress, let's really put things into perspective. And because I don't think this man not standing up is harming a soul. No, not a person.
I don't think it means that he's against America. It doesn't mean that he's
racist. Doesn't mean he hates the country. He's just standing up for something that he believes in.
Doesn't mean that he thinks the people overseas fighting for us are fighting for nothing. No. Does not mean any of that. But it means that what we say our flag stands for, it does not.
But I also believe that it's bringing attention, and that's what's needed.
Correct.
He's bringing attention to something that a lot of people do not want to acknowledge or be aware of. He's bringing attention. Just like back in the day, Martin Luther King had to do what he had to do to bring the attention of other people. Civil rights activists had to do the same as well. So he's just doing that in his own way. Just like Rosa Parks when she sat on that bus silently because she was tired of sitting at the back of the bus. Camera's done. Guess we're well, my camera just stopped. But I'm saying, like, Rosa Parks sitting at the back of the bus and being silent and standing up for desegregation on the bus, and she wanted to sit down. That did not mean she hated America. She just knew that she had to make a change. And if this is his way of doing it, then we should acknowledge it. And we should at least try to understand, for the people who do not understand why he's not doing it. Understand and don't just criticize and shame someone right away before you even understand what's going on. Because sometimes you may not understand that it is making a change at the moment, but later on it will speak volumes. So at least try to understand. Let me know what you guys think about it. Especially a lot of the athletes, I feel like you guys make a great portion of American sports. So how do you feel about that? And did you think that that something should happen to him because he didn't do such a thing? Honestly, I don't.
Yeah, but it just bothered me that much that it was something I felt that we needed to talk about. And I'm not saying that cops out there also, when we talk about Black Lives Matters, that theirs don't know, because I don't agree that people should, just because these other are Black lives that are being shot down and oppressed, I'm not saying that compared to a police officer it's not important, or that police officer that got shot, that's not important. No, that is very important.
Right. Okay.
Retaliation is not the key, is not the answer.
It's really not.
There are some good people out there that really want to serve our country justice and make sure that they protect us. So I applaud you for doing that, and I thank you, because there are some things that we cannot control and that we need policemen out there.
For sure. Growing up in South Dakota, I've never met a rude officer or anything. Yeah. I grew up loving cops because what they wave at you at home, they say hi, they stop by, and they're super welcoming. So to me, it was really shocking to see how policemen in other countries, not countries. Okay, saved it. Police in other states, the way they treated people of color, because that doesn't. Well, as far as from my experience in Sioux Falls, it's never happened to me. It's never happened to a lot of my family members or just anyone in general. I've never had to hear about something like that. So for me, I'm not saying all cops are bad because I know so many that are amazing and great. But for those incidents that did happen and the fact that a lot of people did not stand up for what was correct and what was justice and didn't call it injustice is just like preposterous. It's like shocking that
it is.
That's a thing in America in 2016. After all, like we say, after a while we've been through.
Correct.
Why is that still a thing?
And I want people to think of it this way. Don't forget, history is still in the making. We always talk about history only being in the past, but history is also part of the present.
Now, yes.
We are making history. We are part of history because we are going to be someone else's history.
Correct.
So for us to sit here and say the things we're saying or say that America, all of that, it's going to reflect on someone and it's going to reflect back on us because a lot of people are like, oh, there's only one group of people who are doing that. Not everyone in America is doing that. Yes, I agree. Not everyone in America is doing it. But when you stand and you don't say anything about it, that is what you are standing for. You are standing and you are agreeing when you don't say anything.
Right.
So to sit back and act like it's okay, it's not okay. It's one big circle. It is a circle of life. Lion King wasn't made for shits and giggles. It's a real thing. It's a circle of life. It all connects. It's one big circle. Yeah. So if there's people out there that are doing wrong and aren't doing right, you need to set the stone. Set it straight. Do the right thing. Set it straight
and educate people. There may be people who are not very knowledgeable of what is going on, and I've had to sometimes, in some instances, educate my friends, and sometimes they've had to educate me as well. But guess what? I learned from that, and I got to see different perspectives, which made me a lot wiser. So I'm able to speak more on all these different things. But educate someone. Do not be afraid, because if you are afraid to call out your friend for something she may have said or that he may have said, then you're not doing anything to at least try to help change something.
For those out there who think racism is dead, it's not.
It's still alive.
Not. I'm not saying that is something that you have to use. People like to say, oh, well, you're going to use that or
the race
or
card.
Color. It's not a card. We don't play cards with this.
We're not given the card to say, oh, you're playing how are you playing a race card?
Yes, it's out there. Just acknowledge it.
Right.
Because that's the main thing a lot of people miss is when something goes viral about this, we want to go quick to say, oh, the race card is being pulled. No, but it's true. Sometimes it has. That's what I'm saying. It's not a card. It has everything to do with it. Even though it's not the initial cause, it has everything to do with it. I mean, even when the Confederate flag and we wanted to take it down, or people said it's part of history, and they said that if we take that down, we take away the meaning. The one thing I did some research about the Confederate flag and how a long time ago that wasn't the meaning. It wasn't, but it became the meaning. And now that it stands for that, we have to do something about it. We can't just let it sit there and because of the purpose and defeat and say, oh, that's not what it stood for. It didn't stand for racism. It didn't, but now it does. So acknowledge that. Don't sit there and say, oh, that it shouldn't, because I was reading and it came across on PBS, and that's where I found this, and it was telling me about the symbol of the Confederate flag. And it said it was a symbol for the South for many years, and it also showed the affection, the reverence, and the remembrance of the symbol of what it stood for.
Okay.
Is that the Confederate flag stood for desecration. That's really the underlining meaning. But it got passed around and taken out of the hands of the people who carried it dearly and really used it for the right things, and people started to use it for multiple things, and it lost the connection it had for the initial meaning, and it became for other things that it wasn't supposed to. Okay, we understand that now, but that doesn't mean it's right to parade it everywhere. And I'm not saying that people who have that history in it should take it down. No, but when we talk about freedom in this country, put it on all playing fields. Don't just put it on the ones that you choose. Put it on all
and don't just put it on, don't focus on things that solely affect you, but think about it also as affecting other people, because this country is not just one race. This country is not just one ethnicity. There's so many of us, and it's such a diverse place. So I feel like sometimes we base off our opinions based off of our own color, and it should be more than that. Look at it from all perspectives. When they talk about police brutality, I look at it from all other police officers' views, and those who aren't harming Black people, and those who are. So I look at both sides before I speak on it.
Correct.
And see how I feel. It's not about me being Black, but it's really about what is right or what is wrong. And I feel like we kind of blindsided from that. If it doesn't affect us and we're a certain race, we shouldn't ignore it. We should say something. Because
Correct.
if it's happening to someone else, I want to be able to say, hey, that's not right. I may not be your color and I may not understand, but at least I know what is right from wrong.
If you really believe America stands for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to be able to express ourselves, and we are one of those fortunate countries, just make sure you exercise it in every playing field.
Agreed.
Dude, if you really believe it and you're going to stand for that flag, do it. Do it in pride, knowing that you stand for something right. Don't just do it because you're told or because you think it's right. Because that's basically the same thing as not standing. If you don't know what you're standing for, you might as well not stand.
Right. But we are done talking, y'all. I'm sorry we're so passionate about this. It's just, there's just some things that
Correct.
you
that just have to be said.
You shouldn't let it go, and it's not fair. And I
So,
think
Kaepernick, I applaud you for doing what you do.
I applaud you for standing up for what you
actually,
believe in.
For that, I want to tell you that I have decided not to no longer stand for the national anthem. That is a personal choice I've made.
You go, girl.
Just because the fact that to see this coming about and the backlash and what people have said, it's made me really come into a place, and I love my country. I do, but that is the stance I'll take. And Tomi, I don't know.
Like I said, give us a ticket to your show. We're more than happy to come.
Because I don't know.
And if anybody has her, share this video, tag her in it.
And I'm sorry you got your degree from Up Your Butt Around the Corner University, because that knowledge you got, I don't know, it just gotta stop.
But thank you guys for watching our Facebook Live. Share this video as many times as you can to just bring awareness to people who may not know. You know, just those things. And for those tuning in now, we're leaving. So you can watch the recording after we finish.
Bye.
Peace.